Let's go. Welcome, folks. Hey. Welcome back, Mudshark. I didn't remember that you were in Sweden. Today I have a special treat in mind, and that is a preview of a testing tool that I've been helping to develop. And I'd love to show it to you. But as usual, this time is it's a fun time to talk about anything, whether it's about the code that you see or about anything else. I'm totally game. There are a few of us here, and that's good enough for me. Let's get rolling. This is where we were yesterday. Hello again, Jav Solo from Louisiana. Good to have folks back. Yesterday, so I've got this thing to analyze survey data. Most of it is inside of this core side you see here, and that's fully TDD'd. In fact, yesterday there was an interesting question about UI testing, and I brought up the test pyramid. We'll probably take another look at that again today. Because what I want to do today is, yesterday I took all these various parts, and as a spike, just to see all the parts are tested, but I wanted to see how do they join together. And in the process, there were a few adjustments around making things public. But I wanted to join the pieces together. I used brute force for loops and stuff, just to get it all in place. And when I run this, well, it seems to be doing something. And that's promising. And I'd kind of like to take all this code, well, a lot of it, and say, yeah, this isn't code that should be in the main. It should be in the core. And I want to have some tests for it, even though it's really a matter, Swift is both annoying and helpful in its type checking. And with well-tested types, as long as you can hook them together, you at least know that they're connected in some way. But it's still good to have. Here, let me, let's see. Let me bring up the testing pyramid again. That's the one we were looking at. So I've got all these unit tests. I don't have an end-to-end test. I mean, I was doing a manual test, and really I wasn't checking the output. Excuse me a second while I give a good cough and try to remember how to mute myself. Okay. I've got all these unit tests. I'd really like an integration test. That's the next thing that's sort of calling out as far as like what I would like. I would like to be able to take a string, probably not a file path, just a string, and slice it into entries, and then parse those into weighted entries, and then accumulate them in the answer accumulator, which will do the scoring. I'd like to take like probably all this here and extract that. Right? So that's the goal. Let's figure out what it's going to take. In fact, can I even extract a function here? Okay. It's not taking an argument though, because it's just sort of picking it up. I'm a little surprised. I thought it would pick up the string argument. Let's take another look at that. An answer accumulator. That's not quite what I want. All right. So what I'm going to do next is not really TDD. Shock. I know. But I want to pull things into this thing called a pipeline. In fact, maybe we should do a little of that up here. The survey is a string, and I'd like to make a pipeline and pass in the survey as like, I don't know, process survey or something like that. Something like that. All right. Let's try that. That looks like the shape I want. So let's create pipeline and let's stick it in survey core. It will be a class? Not necessary. It will be a struct. And with that, I should be able... It's not liking that. Can't find pipeline in scope. Why not? Ah, no, it's in survey core. Oh, I didn't make it public. With that, hopefully that's a ghost error. No? Let's try build. Whoop, wrong one. Pipeline initializer is inaccessible. Meh. That's why I can't make it. I mean, I don't really want it to be a class, but I'll just make an initializer. Okay, that seems to have satisfied it. And now I want it to process the survey and we'll do that. Okay. This is, instead of survey, it's going to be like raw survey. I think that's nicer. So that's the shape that I want. That's just a ghost error. And I guess I want to process it and then I want to ask it some questions. Okay, so let's pull this into a variable. One of the really nice things, let me do that again. One of the really nice things about app code and its extract to variable as opposed to Xcode's. Actually, I can just show you an Xcode. Let's pull this up. Hopefully my 2015 Mac can withstand it. Hey, Alfredo. Good to see you again. It's starting to slow down. My Mac is starting to slow down. I can see it paging. I just plopped down a hunk of money to get a new computer. It won't show up for another 2 months, but I am eagerly looking forward to it. Okay, so what I wanted to show you was if I select this and say I want to extract this to a variable, and it says, well, this is what it gives me. Okay, so now I can start typing. Whoop! When I start typing, what happened to the let? Let's do that again. That's even worse than I thought. Extract to variable. That seems to be in the selected. Oh, God. I'm not liking this. Not liking that experience. All right. So let's do it again in AppCode. And I'm going to expand my selection. And then I extract a variable. And it suggests a name. I can switch it. I can say, make it a var. I can decide whether or not to make the type explicit. Was the type explicit? Let's do it again in Xcode. Sorry for getting a little distracted, but these are the things. These are the things. Let me just tap. These are the things that drive me a little bonkers about Xcode. So, pipeline, I want to create it, I want to process, and then essentially I want to now ask it to give me the desires. Although that's not quite right, because the scoring right now returns a dictionary, and I want to sort them still, so there's still a little work to be done. But I want the pipeline to hold on to the answer accumulator and hide that from main. So this will be a good start. This will be a good start. Right? Right now this does nothing, but it gives us the shape of what we want. Okay, so inside of here, let me now take this. In fact, let me rename this back to survey, just so it matches up with the code I want to copy and paste into here. That's not quite what I want, because I want the answer accumulator to be a property, but let's see if I can't do this. By the way, is the accumulator? It's a class. Okay. I was wondering why it was a let. So let's move that up here, make it private. Actually, I'll just leave it exposed for now. We'll see. That's kind of the shape of the thing I want for process. Maybe process should clear out the answer accumulator if it already exists. I don't know. Okay, so I've now copied and adjusted this code that I've pulled out of main here, this untested stuff, and now it's over in the survey core under this pipeline, and I can test this. Here's a question. How will I test it? Well, let's start writing a new test for pipeline. Hello. Uh-oh. Have I made my my machine croak? Come on. There. The paging. It did a lot of paging there. That's what I hope to get away from with my new Coming in 2 months, MacBook Pro. Okay, let's make a new test suite using my custom file template. If you do not already use these, they will save you a lot of time. If you go to quality coding, and let's look up the file templates. There's my face. Yeah, cookies. Template, there we go. If you don't already have this, it'll save you time. Because it doesn't create junk. All right, where does this belong? Survey core tests. This is going to be pipeline tests. It belongs in there. And the nice things this template does, it takes a guess at what the testable import is. In this case, that's not quite right. Should be survey core. And it starts with a test 0. It sets up other things. It doesn't have all that junk of tests to delete. It doesn't have the setup and teardown that are sitting there empty because I may not even want those. And let's run the tests, and I expect this to give me a nice failure. There we go. Okay. So now in here, I can start testing the pipeline. This is the system under test, or SUT. I've seen one team now that instead of calling this SUT, I think they call it system. That's pretty good, you know? That's not bad. All right, so we do SUT pipeline, and now I want to process something. A bunch of lines, a few lines at least. And then I want to take a peek at its answer accumulator. This is sort of a temporary thing because this is not the final shape of the pipeline. The pipeline should also do the sorting. But let's get the problems. I want to do that, and I want to do something with it. I don't know what yet. You'll notice that this test is sort of growing. I haven't decided even what to call it, but it's an integration test. I want to throw in a bunch of stuff into here, and now let me show you another trick of app code. This is we're seeing here, something similar to Xcode as far as the project navigator goes. That's not the only view we can get. We can also look at files. You can see, look at this. There's my getignore, and here's my survey. These are not in the project, but they're in the folder. So I can look at the survey, and I can say, you know what? Let me just grab a few lines here. Go down this way. How about 3 lines? I don't know. That's probably, we'll see. This is experimental. And let's slap those in to this. Now, I think this will pass and not, croak. It shouldn't die. This returns a dictionary. I don't know if we can spit it out here. Whoops. Come back here. I got a little fat fingered there with my window manager. What will this do? I don't know. Let's see if it spits out something useful. Failed. Well, that looks interesting. Failed Viper. Ooh, space there. I need to clean up. Maybe I need to sanitize my. No, I don't need to sanitize the data. I think I just discovered that I need to trim the keywords, any leading and trailing spaces. Viper. So this looks interesting. Viper, what to test of reactive. Let's get a couple more lines here. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. All right. So this isn't a test. It's just me sort of using the test structure to see, can I get at this? Can I even poke at the squirrel problems with an example of the input that's just like the first few lines of the actual survey results. Now, I want to do something fun. Here's where I want to show you the new tool. If I go to, there it is. So there's this thing called approval tests. And I've been working with the creator of approval tests on a Swift version. It was started by a fellow coach at Industrial Logic, Matthew Carlson. And then I jumped in, and I've been pairing with Llewellyn, the inventor of approval tests, on this. And I'd love to show it to you. What is it? Well, it's easiest if I just sort of slap it in and start using it. This has not been, I haven't made a 1.0 release of this yet. The easiest way to get it is through Swift Package Manager. I don't really need a manifest. I just need this. Now, unfortunately, where are you, Mudshark? You're familiar with it, with approvals. Let me do this. Cool. That's great. Let me do this sort of longhand and say, here's how I would do it without approvals. I just want to say, treat this as a characterization test. That's a legacy code technique from Michael Feather's amazing book, Working Effectively with Legacy Code, where I want to say, you know what, let me just grab all this. Let me turn this into an assert equal. And I'm going to have this on the left side, and why is this complaining? Int versus string. Oh. Looks like I need to convert it to a string after all. Just to see it nicely. Okay. So here's how a characterization test works when done by hand. It's to do this, and then to take the results and say, I want to copy all this and stick it into the empty string like that. And now this should pass. Okay, whoop, it didn't. It's off by something subtle. You know, maybe it's off by a new line or something like that. That happens. Failed is not equal to. Oh, it's not even. They're in a different order. Okay, so this is kind of a pain. Like, can I take this? No, that's what I put in. Can I sort them? It's a dictionary, so I can't really sort a dictionary, can I? Maybe I can. No. Okay, so I'm running into some trouble here. It's getting to be a little painful, but that's the idea. Is let me grab this again. Let me try. Failed. Because the order is rather different. It's getting all mixed around. Is it the backslashes? I don't think so, because I need those. These backslashes AppCode put in because I had quotes in there, but it looks like maybe it's escaping too much. Yeah. Anyway, it's getting to be a pain. Yeah, you see here in the output, there's a slash, there's a backslash, and a quote. That's kind of funny. Really ought to clean that up in the test code. I mean, in the sanitizing of the data. So this is not working so well. So hello, Nicholas PNT, welcome. I believe you are able to sort, but you have to specify by key or value. So sorted by key. I don't want to do any of that. But you didn't add a sort function to the accumulator. No, I haven't. Not yet. And it may not go in there. Excuse me. So my demonstration of the, excuse me, trying to do a characterization test by hand is proving to be more painful than I expected. So let's try again. Let's not use this. Instead, I want to use my new tool. Yes, I'm working in Swift, and I'm about to show off a new testing tool for Swift called Approval Tests. This is what we're going to grab. Whoops, come back. I keep doing that. The project is a survey. A newbie to Swift. Welcome. I keep messing up my my Safari windows here. Whoa! Come on. My little cheat. So, because I only use one monitor, I don't have a fancy, nice setup like real Twitch people do. But I'd like to know how many folks are here. And there are 11 people watching right now. Thank you for coming. So what I want to do is actually add this in Swift Package Manager, but it looks like AppCode is a little confused with this project about adding Swift Package Manager. That's all right. We'll come to Xcode and we'll do it here. This will be more familiar to folks anyway. So let's come and in the package dependencies, add a new one. And here's approval tests. It hasn't been released yet, so we're going off of master, really ought to rename master, and add that to, and here's the important part, it needs to add, you need to add it to your test target. There, now it's in. I should be able to quit Xcode at this point. I don't need it because AppCode is now importing the project, as you can see in the little status along here at the bottom. And there it goes. I am making an application to process survey results for a survey that I took some time back. So let's now import the approvals. Hello? Why aren't you there? Maybe because it's still updating the symbols down below. Just take a little breath. This is a difference between Xcode and AppCode. AppCode has a lot more of an engine to it, but in order to process that engine, to give that engine the data it needs to go through and update symbols. That can take some time. Yeah, so my goal is to process these survey results, to score the answers so that I know what the top, oh, there we go. What the top things people want me to talk about are. Specifically for folks in the Apple ecosystem and around the things the topics I address most are unit testing, test-driven development, and refactoring. So here we go. The import's now in place. Let's bring in approval tests, Swift, and now let's do something different. Instead of this assertion, I want to say try approvals. Hello. Verify. And there are a number of different options inside of approvals for verifying things. But let's just start simple here. What happens if I say verify the system under test? I don't know. Now it's going off. It's actually building the approval tests framework. And there we go. And there we go. See, this is the thing that approvals gives us. It gives characterization tests that involve the human to say, do you approve this or not? And this is not useful yet. I don't want the answer accumulator. In fact, I'm surprised that it is the answer accumulator. I thought it was a pipeline. I'm a little surprised by that, but that's not useful to me yet. I guess answer accumulator is all that's in there. So let's talk to the answer accumulator. I don't think this will be quite useful yet either, but let's find out. The nice thing about approvals is basically we incorporate the human element into deciding whether or not to approve something. If you've used snapshot tests, and I'm meaning specifically for iOS folks, snapshots that are visual snapshots, not data snapshots. It's like that, right? Where I want to see, is this the same as that? If they are the same, it will pass. This is still not useful. I really want to say score all the desires or problems. Let's go with desires. And now let's see what this gives us. You will all be happier when I get my new Mac. I'll be happier. There we go. It's kind of funny. I'll know what's this? I'm not sure, but this is more interesting, right? We've got some scored things, and that was much easier to get to than trying to weasel around, working through printing it and getting it into a big long single string. Instead, it's broken it out because it recognizes that it's an array. It breaks it out and it prints them up, or not an array. It's actually a dictionary of things to scores. And this is still kind of funny at the top, but let me approve this. And here's how I approve it. I say, does this look good to me? Yeah, I'm going to move it to the right side. So now I've basically taken the results and saying, use that as, I guess it's this direction for you. Use that as the golden master or the approved result. Here you see it shows in the names of the files. This is the received side, which this is the approved side. I've now approved this, and this will pass. My poor Mac. There we go, and it passes. Now, I'm not sure how much I like this, but I think that's what's in there. It scored this with 8, but here we've got an interesting thing: testable code 8888. Testable code shows up with 16. That's a little more interesting. Let's take a look at some others. Maybe I should see if the other ones are better, give me better results. So instead of score all desires, let's say score all problems. Now this will fail, but we'll get to see how it differs. And the cool thing, hello, D. Babbage from New Zealand. The cool thing is that because it pops up a differ, it's very easy if you have a powerful diff tool to see what the differences are. So this is not quite there yet. Actually, Ribs, Viper, Async, okay, I like this better. I like this better. So I'm going to go with this and I'm going to approve this. Boink. Close it. This will pass. So there you have it. That is approval testing. I am now confident in this code being under test. I've tested the integration sort of pipeline using real data from my survey, and it comes out like this. It's kind of funny with the indentation here. Not sure what's up with that. My guess, it's pulling in, I bet I know what it is. There we go. It's the indentation problem because I have not trimmed the answers or the keys. And I should do that. And when I do that, maybe we can do that now. But let me check this in as something. Actually, before I check it in, let me now go back to main, because I should be able to say pipeline. Actually, I'm not going to worry about printing stuff in main. I'm just going to go like this and comment that out. All right, so this is what we have done so far. Looks like there are a few changes in the project settings for importing approvals. So this is a pretty big change. Create pipeline tested by approvals. All right. Now, some questions. Or maybe we should tackle that space first. Let's do that space. That bugs me. All right, so here, this is another nice thing about having a files view instead of the project view. I can just look inside the folder and go right to the test. Trailing quote on the first entry is interesting. Yeah, it is. Like, what is that? Why is that there? Kind of yucky. But let's see if we can't clean this up by trimming these spaces. How do we do this? This will be probably in the answer accumulator. Or is it in the weighted entries? It's in the weighted entries. I think when I create weighted entries, I should really like trim them. Like maybe in here. Maybe when the entries come in, I should trim them. Let's see if we can do this. Let's test drive this. So first I'm going to run test to make sure I'm green. And let's come in the weighted entries. Yeah, nothing in here has spaces because these were all sort of made up things. But let's add a new test. Gather problems. I'm just trying to decide how to form this because I've got make input with problems, desires, and features. All right. Let's add a new test at the bottom here. So I say a test. Should trim leading. I've only seen leading in spaces, but I don't care if it trims trailing spaces. Let me put that in first. All right. So what I want is to assert that Actually, I don't mind starting from the entry itself. Let's say we have weighted entry from comma separated entry, and we're going to make input with problems, desires, and features. So let's say problems how about that? That's too long. Just trying to figure out how to break this up into something a little more. How about that? That's better. All right, so if I make this weighted entry, then I should be able to see the problems. Not sure if I want those yet. Problems, desires, killer features. Ah. Um. So I'm not sure my little bot here that I've never actually seen in action seems to have trapped somebody, and judging from that name, it's probably spam. So let's see. All right, so this I expect to fail. I expect 3 failures. Huh. Well, that didn't work. Is it that I don't have spaces? Commas? Ah, yeah. All right, so let me fix this up. Let's first get it to pass, and then I'll get it to fail. Just want to sanitize my input data here. And the reason for these extra commas is that there are multiple columns. In my comma separated thing. Okay, so that wasn't right. Shoot. Here. Sorting this out. Bear with me. Now let's add some. Actually, no, I'm not going to add spaces. I'm going to just see if this passes first. So essentially, I'm testing my test data right now. I haven't made it to my failing test yet. Okay, so now I expect this to fail if I add some extra spaces around everything. Let's do that. This should give me 3 failures. Come on, MacBook. It's a 2015 model. All right, so here are my 3 failures. You can see them like that. That's as expected. And often it's fairly obvious that P1 is the problems, but when I have multiple assertions, I like to add a distinguishing message to the assertion so that it's very clear, even for somebody coming in, they can read the failure and get a better sense of what it's checking. See, so now it's added, for example, here. Otherwise, you'd be like D1. If you didn't know like that it had desires and problems and so forth, then you might be wonder. But now that's clearer. Okay, so this is our failure. So let's get this to pass by trimming them right here. I think I can just, can I do trim like that? Can I do trim like that? Okay, help. Is there a string method to trimmed? Oh, wait. These are, this is, it's not a string. It's an array of strings. So really, I want to map this. Will this work? No. Will this work? Help. Anybody out there? Let's go to Dash. Look for trim. Trimming characters, trim start, trim end. These are time intervals. Trimming characters in I don't want to trim characters in a character set. I want to trim the leading characters. And trailing characters. There's got to be a thing to do this. Let's go to string. Yeah, except I don't want to trim them from the entire string. I just want to trim leading and trailing. Remove first, remove last, filter drop, lowercase. Are you kidding that there must be something? Splitting. Map for each, sorted, reverse shuffled. Oh, I'm a little surprised. I thought for sure that there would be something like this. Trimming characters in. Let's see. I don't think I want to go to NS string. Rather in string protocol. Okay, well, let me try it. I'll take your word for it, D-Babbage. And all you other folks. All right, so I should be able to map this to say trimming characters in something, right? In a character set. Will that work? The weight is an int. You said this before, and I'm totally a goof. Thank you. Thanks for bearing with me. Learning is fun. That's better. Cannot convert. So this needs to be a character set. So is there a character set for space? White spaces? Let's try that. All right, so hopefully this will reduce our failures from 2 to 1, but let's find out. Thanks for catching me on all my goofs. I don't think that worked. I'm a little bumped and a little confused. It's because it's coming in through here. I am calling it through comma separated entry, which does extract weight. Ah, I'm doing it in the wrong place altogether. Let's revert this. And come in here to extract keywords. That's what it is. Extract keywords. Here we go. We filter out the empty ones. We're mapping, converting it to a string, and I should be able then to say trimming characters in white space. Maybe this will work. Why didn't it? White spaces? What was it? I could have sworn it was white space. White spaces. Oh, hello, Lex Stoikus, welcome. Can you tell me, please, are you happy using JetBrains IDEs? I am. It is my preferred tool of choice. I only use Xcode when I have to. And that's because of the extra power that JetBrains has for all sorts of stuff, from refactoring to being able to make a caller and creating the stub of the code you need from the call site of something that doesn't exist. It's fantastic. Let's see what this does. Will it pass? You see what happened? The my other test passed, and my differ came up and said, well, there's now a change. There's now a change because these used to be first, and they had leading space. And I can also, this also answers for me the thing I was worried about was, will it remove the spaces inside? And y'all said, no, it won't. And here I can see instantly, without having to write another test for it, that it is good. So there you have the power. No problem for the detour. Lex, I'm like questions, random questions. I'm coming from a Visual Studio path and researching about JetBrains products. the more and more I start liking them. Oh yeah. And Visual Studio, from what I've seen, you know, it's got powerful stuff in there as well. But honestly, it's JetBrains for everything for me, no matter what language I happen to be working in. So back to the approvals. Let me approve this change. And now everything will be green. And that is what I wanted to show you, the power of approval testing. I did find a bug in the process of there we go, of trying this before this this live stream, because I have spaces in my path name, and apparently it is not happy about spaces. So I'm going to fix that bug, and I'm going to work on the release. But you can find approval testing. It is powerful. You can give it a try. Let me stick this. Actually, it's just let me come out here. There is ApprovalTests.Swift. Good for verifying objects that require more than a simple assert, or where it's like you want to compare a bunch of stuff. Again, I don't recommend. There is a type of snapshot testing that is, I mean, there are image types, and those are good. And then there's another type where it's like, let me introspect all the data, the internals of the objects. Don't do that. That's a world of pain, because if you change an implementation detail in one of those objects and then you add a property, all of a sudden all your tests fail. You don't want that. You want your tests to be sensitive to the things you care about and insensitive to the things you don't care about. So approval tests helps with more of that stuff. It's powerful. You can give it a try. That's what I wanted to show you. Any questions about approval testing? Here's one question that I can think of. And that is, you know, what is this differ that was popping up? In my case, because I have app code installed, it was popping up app code. But it actually goes through this list. Here, let me come back to the documentation. If we come to the docs and say, what are the reporters? And here are the things that it walks through, trying to find a match for whether or not, how to show you the diffs. It looks for these various tools: Beyond Compare, AppCode, Diff Merge, Kaleidoscope, P4 Merge, KDiff3, TKDiff, Visual Studio Code. And if everything else fails, it will report something with XeTest. I hope to add the one that's inside of Xcode. Is it called FileDiff? I can't remember. But I want to try to add that to the list so that, you know, I expect most people will be using Xcode with this, because not many people use AppCode in my experience. But I want to, if you have, for example, Diff Merge is a really good one. It's free. Kaleidoscope is not a free one, but if you have it, you know it's awesome. Especially the good thing about this tool, as opposed to just saying this massive output doesn't match that massive output, is that by seeing it in a differ, you, the human, well, the combination of you, the human, and the power of whatever diffing tool you have installed on your system will let you see, oh, these lines match. Oh, this one is different. This one is added. This is removed. And hopefully you got to see how easy that was for me to approve that. So that is it. With that, that's a stream. I'm going to call it a day. If you have watched this on YouTube, give it a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you around. Give it a try. Again, I did find a bug. If you have a space in your path name, right now it'll croak. And I'll fix that up. All right? Take care, folks. Will I be streaming tomorrow on Christmas Eve day? I'm not sure yet. But I'll see you around. Take care.